Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start our second unit, that is the economics of power plant. Basically, in the first lecture, we saw the basics of the power plant, right? Particularly the basic working conditions of the working of that particular power plant, like the thermal power plant, hydroelectric power plant. What are the different factors which are going to affect whenever we going for installing those power plants? Also, the statistics related to the power generation in India, particularly in India, that also we saw in the previous chapter. And what are the shares of with respect to the types of power plants we have? Means nearly 60% will be based on has been based on the thermal power plant, right? Nearly 20-30% will be generated by the other types of the gas-based power plant, 10% through the hydroelectric power plant. So the basics regarding the power generation and from which particular power plants we generate the power that we saw in the first unit. So in the second unit, we are going to concentrate on the economics related to the power plant, how the power plant work and what are the economical aspects we have to consider whenever we try to or we are going to planning to install the power plant and during the operation of the power plant. So this economic study of the economics related to the power plant is very important because after all, whenever we considering to install any power plant or selling any energy, we have to first consider regarding its cost effectiveness, right? If that particular power plant give us the profit, in that condition also, in that condition only we are going to install that power plant. If any particular power plant is not providing the profit, it is in the loss. In that case, we are not that particular power plant is not economical viability. Okay, it is not in the favor of the profits, and it is not possible to run that particular power plant. So this economics related to the power plant is very important because it is going to affect on your electricity tariff. Okay, and if electricity tariff or the rate is very high, in that case consumer base is going to be decreases, your demand or whatever the energy which is produced by the power plant, it is going to be decreases, and overall it is going to affect on the profit of that particular power plant. So this particular unit is very important whenever we considering to construct any particular power plant. Before that, we have to carry out this economical analysis. During the operation of power plant also we can carry out the economic analysis, but generally this one is the this particular step or the economics we are studying in during the planning of the particular uh, power plant. Okay, so in this particular unit we are going to see the load curves. Okay, and what is meant by load duration curves? There are different types of the load curves and load duration curves. Okay, numerical treatment which is based upon those particular curves we are going to find out. Then the performance and the operational characteristics of the power plant, because as we know, the these particular characteristics or the performance of the power plant is going directly going to be affect on the economical point of the power plant, because it is totally based or whatever the profit we are earning from that particular power plant, it is directly connection with the characteristics of that particular power plant. Okay, if the efficiency of the power plant is very low, in that case the profit also going to be decreases, because the input is going to be increases. We have to give or burn more and more coal if the efficiency is less. So in that case, this operational characteristics and the performance of the power plant is directly connected with the economics or the whatever the profits we are earning from the power plant. Then we are going to see what is meant by peak load, what is meant by intermediate load, and what is meant by base load, and the plants which are particularly suitable for those particular loads. Okay, as we know, as taken an example, whenever we considering any thermal coal based thermal power plant, in that case we are considering or we can say that that power plant is the base load power plant, because the base load or maximum load will be carried out by that particular power plant. Whereas if any power plant which is running on the on renewable energy resources, or we can say running on the gas based thermal power plant, in that case we are considering those as a peak load power plants. Okay, so that detailed difference between those types of the power plants and their characteristics, those also we are going to study, and their effect on the economy. Then input and output characteristics of the power plant. Those are the also essential or the very required to study those characteristics, because the efficiency is directly connected with that. Then the economic division of between a base load plant and peak load plant. These two type of plants are, we are mostly using those two type of plants. Okay. Then the tariff methods. Now, whatever the energy sell out to the consumer, the tariff of that particular energy or cost of that particular energy will be based upon different types of the different factors. Okay, so whenever we considering or whenever we fix the cost of that particular energy, okay, per unit, in that case we have to follow some methods. Okay, and those methods are called as the tariff methods. The study of those tariff methods also we are going to carry out. Then the cost of the electric energy. Okay, what is the cost of electricity energy, what is the fixed cost, what is meant by operating cost, how the capital cost is going to be affect on that particular tariff of that particular energy. Those also we are going to see. So introductory, as we know, the particularly whenever we implement or construct any particular power plant or plan to construct any particular power plant, the first factor which is most important, plays a very important role, that is the cost of that particular power plant. Okay, rather than the efficiency of that particular power plant. As we know, in the previous chapter we saw there are many factors on which that construction of the power plant or the selection of particular power plant is based. But the most important point we are going to see, or we mostly concern, that is the cost of the power plant or the economical condition of the power plant rather than the efficiency of the power plant. Okay, so this economical condition or the cost is plays very important role whenever we select any particular power plant. Okay, or whenever we running that particular power plant. So generally, as we can see in the in this particular India, in the India also, in world also, the profit is the main basis whenever we going to design any particular plant rather than its efficiency or rather than its effectiveness. Okay, so we mostly focus upon the profit rather than the efficiency, or we can say we are mostly concerned the financial condition of that particular power plant rather than the technical conditions. Okay, so that we are going to study in this particular unit. The main purpose of the design and operation of the plant is to bring the cost of energy to the minimum level. Okay, as we know, if the cost of that particular unit of energy which is generated through your power plant is less, then in that case the more and more consumer will be going to be, or the demand will be increases for your energy, right? So the main purpose of the designing or this economical aspect is to reduce the energy production cost to the minimum level. So the consumer will get the energy at minimum level, and the total profit will be increases. Okay, so among many factors, the efficiency of the plant is one of the factor which is related or that determine the energy cost. Definitely efficiency is also important, and this efficiency is going to affect on the energy cost. Okay, because uh, as efficiency will increases, or the overall efficiency of power plant, if it is increases, the energy cost will be reduced, right? So the efficiency is directly going to affect on the energy cost, and this energy cost is going to be affect on economics, various economics of that particular power plant. Okay, so these points we are going to see in this particular chapter. Now, before concentrating on the different economic factors, just look into the principles or the main factors on which power plant design is considered, or this consideration we have to take in mind whenever we construct any particular power plant. So first one, that is the properly selected location. Now location is also important. Now as we saw in the last particular unit, that is the location, mostly the power plant, mostly thermal power plant are located near to the resources, okay, where the coal is available. If we see considering the hydroelectric power plant, those are the located near to the hilly area because their water is present in that particular location. So properly selection of the location is also going to be affect on your uh, the cost of the electricity. If the location or that particular power plant is away from the resources, in that case the transportation cost is going to be increases, and that will going to be affect on the electricity cost or energy cost. So it is directly concerned with the electricity cost or the energy cost. If the location is far away from the particular resource, it will going to affect or increase the cost of the energy. Then the simplicity of the design, that is also important. This consideration is also important because if the particular power plant is very complex, then in that case the construction cost is going to be increases. Also the maintenance cost is going to be increases. So simplicity must be there. Then low capital cost. Again, this capital cost is depends upon the simplicity of the design. Okay, if there is a complex design, it will cost the more capital cost we have to invest in that particular power plant, and also the running and maintenance cost is also very high. So in that case, the low capital cost will cause or it is directly related to the design of that particular power plant. That the low cost of energy generation, which is energy. And now this particular point is depends upon various factors. Okay, it may be a technical factors, management level factors, and also the selection level of factors. Okay, so particularly it is depends upon the efficiency of that particular power plant, right? If the efficiency is very high, in that case, energy generation cost will be reduced, right? Because if efficiency is very high, in that case, the input we have to give for that particular power plant is going to be reduced. So that will going to affect on the energy cost. Then it is also depends upon the different practices which are carried out in power plant, means regular maintenance or the different management level practices. Those are also important. Okay, it is also depends upon the availability of the resources. That is most important point, right? If resources are not available, in that case, the cost of energy is also going to be increased. So whatever the resources available at that particular location, those resources we have to use to generate the electricity or generate the energy or power, and based upon that, the availability of resources, the cost is directly going to be or directly connected to that availability of the resource. So it is also going depends upon many factors. Particularly, this particular factor is related to the economics of the power plant. Then the high efficiency, as we discussed, if efficiency is very high, in that case, cost of the energy generation will be reduced. If efficiency is low, in that case, cost of energy will be increased. So it is totally the economic point because this efficiency is going to be directly going to affect on the cost of energy. Then low maintenance cost or low operating cost, the running cost and the maintenance cost must be the low. Those are the considerations. Then the reliability of the supplying power. Okay, reliability is also important whenever we considering the supplying continuous power to that particular load or the demand. Okay, so these are the different types or the design considerations that we consider during the economic consideration of the power plant. Then also the reserve capacity to meet the future power demand. As you know, generally whenever we design any particular power plant, we are considering, we are plan that particular power plant based upon the demand at that particular time. Okay, we have to also consider the what are the demand which is required in the future time. Okay, or we can say the forecast. Okay, so the reserve capacity, or we have to design the power plant such that it will meet the future power demand, or we can expand the particular power plant in the next few years. Okay, as demand grows. So these are some design considerations whenever we considering any power plant designing or the construction. Okay, these points we have to consider. All these points we have to consider because it will going to affect on, first of all, the energy, which is energy cost which is generated in the power plant, and it is directly going to affect on your profit because whatever we say, the main basic purpose of uh, constructing any particular power plant, that is the profit. Okay, if that power plant is profitable, then we are going to construct that one, or we are going to implement what we can say the construct and the running those running that particular power plant. If that power plant it is in the loss, in that case we are not going to run that, or we are not going to planning that particular power plant. Okay, so this is directly considering as we say saw in the last previous slide. The main point is of any particular power plant is definitely it is to supply the energy for the demand. Okay, but also the economical part. Okay, or the costing part, or we can say the profit part. Okay, these are very important. So as we saw, whenever we plan the any particular power plant, obviously the purposes are the different ones. The first purpose is to generate the electricity. That is our first objective. Second is to fulfilling the consumer demand for the electrical power, and third one is the retaining the profitable revenue. Okay, these 3 points or the 3 objectives are very important. Okay, whenever we construct or plan to construct any particular power plant, we have to consider these 3 objectives. That is, first is to it must generate the electricity. Second, it will fulfill the consumer demand, whatever the demand for the electrical energy or the power, it will fulfill. And third, it will also retain the profits. Okay, because whatever the salaries or whatever the requirement fuel purchases, those are going to be coming from this particular revenue of that particular power plant. Okay, so these 3 factors are very important, and particularly this profit and all those things are based upon the technical part of that particular power plant, and also the management part of that particular power plant, or the economical part of that particular power plant. Now we have to take maintain the balance between the whatever the consumer supply to the consumer, and also the profit of that particular power plant. And for that, we have to maintain a balance between these 3 tasks. Okay, these about 3 objectives. First of all, that is the generation of the electricity. Second, fulfilling the demand, and third one is the to make a profit. Okay, so we have to maintain balance in between these 3 particular factors. Okay, we have to give importance to the economical point or the profit. Also, we have to give importance to the supply of the demand fulfillment. Okay, and also to the generation of the power. Okay, now this maintain to maintain this particular balance, we require well trained or experienced or educated technical and administrative staff. Also, we have required the help of modern technology. We have to take help of modern technology, because the efficiency and all those technical part, it depends upon the technology. If the technology is modern, it will the overall efficiency of that power plant is very high. In that case, it will going to reduce the cost of the energy. Also, to handle that modern technology, we require well trained, experienced, and educated technical staff. That is also important. So we have to balance between these two. Okay, first one is the technology, and second one is the power, manpower of that particular to run that particular power plant. Okay, and based upon these 2 factors, it will going to be give us the that particular, or it will give help us to achieve that particular previous 3 objectives. Okay, means generation of the electricity, fulfilling the demand, and third one is the profit or the whatever the revenue we are generating. Okay, so these 2 factors also very important. Now it is again that we are generating the power that is also depends upon the demand from the consumer, and the cost the least, and at the optimum operating efficiency. Now, whatever the power which is we are going to generate it is depends upon the demand, or the whatever the demand we get from the consumer. Now, that energy which we are going to generate, or power which we are going to generate, it must be at the affordable price. Okay, its cost per unit generation should be the least, right? And then only the consumer will attract to that particular energy, right? So also we have to achieve this cost of least cost of the energy and the fulfilling the demand of the consumer at the optimum operating efficiency, right? Because overall, whatever the energy generated, it is coming to this particular point. Okay, efficiency of the power. If efficiency of power plant is high enough, in that case, we can offer or we can generate the power with very less input. Okay, so if it is that particular power plant will operating at optimum level, it will produces the power at very optimum at a very efficient manner. Okay, because of that, we can reduce the cost of the energy, right? We can reduce the cost of energy or cost of energy per unit, right? And because of the less cost of energy, consumer will attract towards that particular power plant, or we can provide the energy at very low price to the consumer. So that's how we have to fulfill the demand. Not just fulfilling the demand is important. We have to fulfill demand, or we have to offer the energy to the consumer at very low cost. That is the main objective of this particular economical analysis of the power plant. Okay, so that is also important. Now, today, if you saw, the main disadvantage of the non-renewable renewable energy resources are that it is very costly technology, right? And that's why we are not using that in very large scale. Now, if you saw in the previous 5 to 6 years, the growth is very high, but today also, the generation cost of electricity or the power to the renewable energy resources are very costlier than the conventional type of the resources. Okay, so that's why that particular technology. First of all, we have to reduce that cost of generation cost of that energy from the renewable energy resources. Then it will be very viable, or it will be suitable for the consumer. Okay. Now, these tasks to fulfill the demand, it is depends upon the different factors. Again, now it is not just our objective is to not just fulfilling the demand. We have to reduce the cost, or we have to offer the power, or we have to offer the power with least cost to the consumer. Okay, for that we have to improve the efficiency, right? So that is also important. Now, whenever we providing or fulfilling those particular demands of the consumer, we also having different what we can say different difficulties. Okay, the first challenge that we have that is the consumer demand is not constant. Okay, over the time it will varies during the days, it will varies during the month, during the seasons, during the year, it will vary. So the consumer demand is not constant. So we have to design or the plan the working of the power plant based upon that demand, or we can say we can use the forecast methods. Okay, to forecast the requirement of the consumer. Okay, also we have to the next challenge, that is optimum efficiency cannot be obtained due to the various losses in the system. As we saw, if any power plant is working on the optimum efficiency, we can reduce the cost cost of the power generation. But running that particular power plant on the optimum efficiency, it is not possible. Okay, because there are various losses which are involved in the system. Those are unavoidable. We cannot avoid those particular losses. Okay, so in that case, that is the second challenge. We have to run that particular power plant near to the optimum efficiency. We have to try to lessen that particular gap from the optimum efficiency and the actual efficiency. That is also one of the challenge. Then the load demand depends upon the consumer type. Okay, this is the variation with respect to type, with respect to time. Okay, it may be in one day there is a less demand during the afternoon, or during the night time there is a very less demand. during the morning time or during the evening time, the demand will be increases. Okay, so this one is the respect to time, and this variation of the load or the demand is respect to type of okay, because different consumer require different types of the power or different amount of power. Okay, if you saw the residential consumer, it will require less power when we compare it to the industrial or commercial type of consumer, or the industrial type of consumer require different power. Agriculture based consumer require different power. Okay, each demand is different. So this load variation or demand variation is depends, first of all, it will vary with respect to time, and second, it is also vary with respect to consumer. So in that case, we have to take account of those variations by using different methods, different management level of methods, and we have to produce the power. But we have to produce the power with the minimum cost. So these are the main challenges whenever we going to design or planning any particular power plant. So in the previous unit, we saw the different factors which are going to affect on construction and planning of that particular power plant. Okay, but we have to also consider these particular challenges, because this planning is also important. Okay, if that particular power plant is not viable, okay, or cost effective, in that case it is not profitable to that particular company. Okay, and as you know, the most important factor is the economy cost of the energy or profit we gain from that particular power plant. Okay, so that we are going to see. So above causes or above challenges will generate or will cause the inconsistency in the power plant duties, or it will going to affect on the cost or efficiency of the power plant. It is very complicated to run that particular power plant without sacrificing any of these things. So as we saw, these are the challenges, and whenever we construct any particular or plan to construct any particular power plant, we have to achieve those we have to consider those particular challenges. Okay. Uh, sorry. Now, whatever the challenges are there, those will going to affect on the cost of the particular power plant or whatever the energy generated, and also the efficiency of the power plant. Furthermore, knowing all the variables which are involved, which will even make the complicated to the administration to cause to achieve those objectives, or which are some problems which are come suddenly causing the uncontrollable variation whenever in the consumer demands and also in the plant technical requirements. So there are many challenges are there whenever we run that particular power plant. Okay, it may be economical, it may be a technical, it may be related to the consumer. Okay, so it is very difficult to take a perfect decision which will obtain the all of the objectives. Okay, so when, how, and where to build a new power plant, those are the main questions we have. So nevertheless, there are performance factors which are provide useful link between the various plant considerations. Such performance factors we are going to take now. We are going to study in this particular chapter. Okay. So what are those performance factors we have to consider before planning any particular power? So these are the factors. Okay. So that is load factor is there, capacity factor is there, utility factor, diversity factor, availability factor, demand factor, and plant use factor. Now, what are those factors and what is the use of those factors? So as we know, as we study, there are two particular sides of planning any particular power plant. Okay. The first one, that is the technical side, and second one is the economical side, right? These two sides are interdependent. Okay, those are the interlinked. Means what? If we changes any particular technical, if we carry out any particular technical change, it will going to affect on economical side. If we changes the economical side, it will going to affect on the technical side. So those are the interlinked or interconnected. Okay, so These factors we have to consider whenever we going to study or carry out the economical analysis. Okay, that is the load factor, capacity factor of the plant, utility factor of the plant, diversity factor of the plant, availability factor of the plant, then the demand factor of the plant, use factor of the plant. These some of the factors or the factors, or we can say the points are there which are interconnect the technical point and the economical point side of the power plant. Okay, so based upon these factors, we can take a decision to where to implement or where to install the particular power plant, when to install a particular power plant, and how to build a particular power plant. Okay, so these factors we are going to see in the next lecture. Okay, we will stop here. In next lecture we are going to see the basic terms and the definitions, and after that we are going to see the different factors, the definitions of the different factors.